Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Financial Advisors Want to Know. Today, I've got with me Ben Olson, who is an expert in AI implementations for financial advisor firms. This is going to be a great episode, something I'm super interested in as I run, where we run a CPA firm that does tax work for advisors. And so a lot of the insights he's going to be providing are all things that I'm very interested in as well. So thanks for joining me today on the show, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love to talk about these things. So this is the perfect place for me to be, I think.
I've been having so much fun the past couple of months finding ways to save time with AI. And it's been so cool, the number of tools that we use in the firm that are now starting to implement it and the amount of time savings from note taking and all those sorts of things. So I think to start off with, I'd love to just get your thoughts on the general state of AI, what people should be thinking about, and just recent advancements and, kind of current trends with it, if you want to start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So AI and like machine learning itself has been around for a while, but recently in the last couple of years, we've been hearing like a lot more about it, and it seems to be like really making its way into people's daily lives and work. And this is because like a couple of years ago, we saw major advancements in what is being called generative AI. And AI and machine learning historically was really good at kind of like classifying and finding trends in information, and it would take like a lot of input and produce like a little bit of output. Like you could think of like a classic example would be like a company predicting customer churn. They would analyze like huge amounts of data about their customers, and it would just spit out like one number between like 0 and 1 on how likely they are to do something. What's different about generative AI is it creates information and it creates like huge amounts of it. So it has a ton of input, but it also has a ton of output, not just a small amount of output. And we're seeing that in the form of text, models that can generate text, that can write things. In the form of video, models are generating video, images, so on and so forth. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like what's changed a lot over the last couple of years and what's really kind of allowing these technologies to be really popularized by tools like ChatGPT and kind of making their way into our work and really helping us save time.
Yeah, absolutely. And besides just, everybody does this when you first discover these tools where you go and like try to play around with them and do funny stuff. Like there's one AI out there that you can give it a prompt and it will create a song. And so I've like, as a nerd would, requested like tax songs and stuff like that. But for people who are looking to actually have an impactful implementation of AI tools into their practice, there's a couple of things that I'd love to hit on. The first is what you're generally seeing for best use cases for what people have been doing so far that you've helped them with. And then the second piece that I'd be interested to hear is there's always a lot of concerns with like regulatory requirements for advisors and like what they're able to use in tools. So I'd love to hear your experiences on kind of what you've been seeing and helping people implement and what kind of, what kind of workflows are people able to use that have been saving them time and effort, et cetera.
For sure. Yeah. So happy to answer both those. I'll start by like prefacing this with like, there are common solutions that we're seeing kind of like low hanging fruit and things that, lots of advisors are implementing, but there is no like robust playbook of like how to exactly use AI in your practice right now. I'm still, every time I engage with a new client, like potentially discovering new things, advisors will be like, hey, can we try this? And I'm like, I never even thought of that. That's a good idea. So there's a lot of exploration and discovery happening in the space right now. With that being said, some of the more common things, I think right now, like the most common one is really centered around conducting meetings. This is how we've seen a lot of like standalone software products come into the market. If you look at tools like Zox or like Jump App, those are AI tools for financial advisors focused specifically on recording, summarizing, and helping you do follow-up on meetings. So that is kind of like really like the main most common use case. And that one, to kind of expand on that, we've been helping advisors do AI-driven automations to kind of help with 4 different steps in the meeting process. The first is going to be meeting scheduling. The second is going to be meeting prep. The third is going to be actually helping them conduct the meeting. And the fourth is going to be meeting follow-up. So meeting scheduling, what you can do is you can build these workflows that kind of detect which of your clients might be overdue for meetings and who needs to get back on the calendar. And you can have AI draft like personalized emails to them and say, hey, last time we met was on this date. We talked about XYZ. We need to get you back on the calendar to talk about this. And it will kind of just draft those emails for you. So kind of automating that piece of scheduling the meeting. In terms of meeting preparation, this is a huge one that's a huge time saver. You can have AI kind of access some of your different tools like your CRM, your email, et cetera, and kind of evaluate a lot of your communications and notes about a particular client so that it's able to generate maybe like a 1-page prep sheet that can help you like prepare for a meeting and kind of just give you that brief that you need going in. And if you're using a CRM that has an open API, which many of them do, Salesforce, Redtail, Webbox, you can actually have the AI kind of write out any tasks that you need to get done before the meeting and you could just have the system add those directly to your CRM. So again, once a client schedules that meeting, you can kind of have that super seamless process of getting ready for it. During the meeting, like I was talking about some of those other tools, it's becoming really common to have transcription software that joins the meeting and records everything and transcribes it. That way you're able to kind of focus on like actually engaging with the person in the meeting and not like worrying about taking notes or worrying that you're capturing everything. And then from there, post meeting, AI it can help a lot with creating like follow-up summary emails, writing out those tasks that need to be done after the meeting, and then also adding those to CRM. So that was like a super long answer, but like that in of itself, meetings is kind of like a huge use case. So I have a few more. Do you want me to like jump into the other ones, or do you want me to?
Yeah, like because I found on my side we've implemented an AI note taker in meetings, and it's just been phenomenal how much time it saves me. And then also, I have a very similar use case with advisors where I need to be collecting a lot of technical information on these phone calls, and so being able to accurately get that information collected and then being able to get that back to my production team who's going to be executing a lot of the work, but they need the detail. It does a fantastic job, especially when you give it the right prompts, getting all of the information out of those calls that you need for it. So it's such a time saver. Like I'd be afraid to calculate how much time it's it's saving me from client meetings. But yeah, besides just the meetings piece, which is a pretty light implementation, like light lift to get it implemented a lot of the time, what are the other workflows that you've been seeing people have success with?
Yeah, so there's a lot of others. One is helping in kind of like draft replies to correspondence with clients. So like I built some systems that help draft replies to emails that advisors get. So it kind of just monitors their inbox, and it will actually kind of like classify things in their inbox, like, hey, this is coming from a vendor, or this is coming from a client. And based on that, it will just like draft replies and automatically stick them in their outbox. You don't want to have AI replying directly to clients, and that kind of gets into that like compliance piece. But what you can have it do is draft replies that the advisor can then go review, maybe make a few tweaks to, and then just send right out. So that's kind of another small one, like maybe only saves you a few minutes here and there. But when it comes down to like that being the majority of the emails you're sending out, that can really like add up over time. Some other ones that are cool, and this is kind of less AI driven, more kind of like workflow automation driven, is document creation and document generation. So the kind of the concept of like a one-page financial plan is starting to become really, really popular in the financial planning world. And I know a lot of advisors out there are still kind of manually filling those out, right? Like they're grabbing data from the CRM, grabbing data from the financial planning software, all these different things, and they're kind of just manually plugging it into a template to create a document to sit down and present to their client. If those technologies have APIs, which a lot of them do, you can automate that process and basically just build a system that allows you to pick a client and it'll just dump all of their data into that document, that financial report, like whatever that is that you're going to present to the client. So that's another big one. And then also the third is maybe just like a broader category of like enriching your data. So you can use AI to kind of maybe like classify or segment your clients based on like various attributes. You can even use it to like kind of help you ideate how you might want to do that in the first place, like what kind of tiers of clients should you have. You could use it for like prospecting in terms of like looking up prospects online, finding their LinkedIn profiles, looking at their websites, whatever it may be, and kind of like extracting all that information. So you have a lot more data about your prospects. So yeah, those are just a few more.
That's so cool. And so for people that are wanting to implement, I'm thinking like the general process would be something like you kind of have to know, like do a time audit and figure out like where are you spending a good amount of effort on some of these administrative tasks, and then going for things like meeting prep, where it's pretty easy to implement a lot of those changes and you get a lot of time back for that implementation. Is that the general process that you take people through with figuring out, what they should be investing the effort on to get an AI solution for different things that they might be doing manually? Like what's the general process that people should be thinking of when it's like, okay, I want to start implementing AI, I want to start doing things. Where do you usually start?
100%. That's my exact process. I'll just kind of sit down with them and their team and be like, okay, so like walk me through your day to day, walk me through your onboarding process, walk me through your meeting process. And when you just, kind of think about those things from a super high level, it kind of starts to become clear, like where you're spending a lot of that time. And that's definitely how we try to think about it and encourage advisors to think about it, is like, okay, what is possible? And then from there, what is going to save me the most amount of time and how much is that going to cost? And then that kind of ratio of like cost to time saved or whatever is kind of how we want to think about like, okay, where should we start and like what should be prioritized?
Yeah, that's great. And I'm guessing that really allows a lot of advisors to think about scaling in a way
Yeah.
that's much easier than, okay, if I'm going to try to 2x my outbound prospecting, do I need to add an admin or a VA to do this? Or could I 2x it with just implementing some more AI? And so I'm really only spending time on the points of the interaction that really need a human. Have you been seeing people be able to make those shifts of like where they would have otherwise had to hire somebody, but now it's like, oh, well, we could just have an AI tool do, this admin piece?
Yeah, 100%. I think like the most common like motivation for someone like wanting to work with someone like us is like one of two things. It's either a firm that wants to grow and they want to do it efficiently, or it's a firm that is maybe not in growth mode, but they want to just kind of eliminate some of the admin work and run more of like a lifestyle kind of business. And it can certainly help in both those situations. We've worked with like many clients who are advisors that are maybe like breaking away from a big firm and going independent, or maybe just like acquired another firm or in growth mode, and they just want to scale efficiently, right? And they don't want to have to bring in more administrative type personnel to, be like linearly scaling like their business. For every X number of clients, they have to bring in a new person that's focusing on like inputting things in the wealth box, like drafting client communications, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we've definitely seen like some firms that are in growth mode, like leverage this to the extent where like they feel like they don't have to hire someone that they otherwise might have.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So as we kind of wrap up this just initial foray into AI conversation, for people that are looking to get in touch with you or see, what you're up to and how you're working with advisors, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Ben Olson with BMO Automation. I post a lot on LinkedIn about the work that we're currently doing with advisors. So if you want to follow me and kind of watch and see everything we're doing, that'd be a great way to maybe inspire you. Or just if you want to reach out to me, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn. Otherwise, my email is just ben@bmoautomation.com. It's BEEMO automation. And that's also our website. And you can fill out a little thing on there to like book a call with us as well.
Nice. That's great. So we'll put that in the show notes wherever you're listening to this. I want to thank you again for joining me on the show. This is a great topic and something where I know in my firm doing some of these AI implementations has just saved us so much time. And it wasn't really that hard to get implemented. It's just a matter of retooling some of your existing workflows. So thanks for joining me today and your willingness to share kind of what you've been seeing work for people and what people should be thinking about with this new technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to join. Love talking about this stuff. One quick point I'll make, just because you brought up a good point there, was that it didn't take you that long to implement some of these things. That's another thing we've noticed as well, is like the actual value you get out of these tools is like pretty big compared to how quickly you can actually get them up and running compared to like traditional software development. So that's a great call out. Just want to mention that as well.
Oh yeah, that's so true. Like I was just talking to somebody that does website work, and I was like, "Well, what's the typical like return on investment from getting a website done?" And she was like, 6 to 9 months. And I'm like, wow, that's a long time to make an investment to wait for a return. Versus with AI stuff, I know when we started to implement it, it was like next day, like you start getting that return back on your time, and it's. If people are like skittish about it or, not familiar with what it can really do, because maybe, you and your kids are playing with it on Chat GPT and asking it to write poetry or something like that. It's amazing what it's capable of. And the sooner that you get into the ring of learning how to work with it and learning what it can do and being in front of that as these tools continue to advance over the next like year or two, being a firm that stays ahead of that will break you out against the pack like pretty quickly when it comes to the administrative side of things. So it's an excellent topic, but yeah, thanks so much for joining me, Ben. And for people listening, feel welcome to reach out to him through the show notes or reach out to us and give us feedback on the episode. We're always interested in hearing what your thoughts are and doing more episodes tailored to what you're interested in. So thanks again, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for having me.